Welcome to episode 1 of Drew Yaps. This is basically just going to be a mini podcast where I talk about whatever I feel like talking about. And for a lot of these, I'm going to be doing some album reviews because I am obsessed with music. And over the past year, I've been doing this thing where I go to stores that have $1 CD sections, which most of those stores now, they're like $1 to $3, and everything is $3, which is so annoying because I just want some $1 CDs. Why am I going to spend $3 for something that might be trash? Even the classical music CDs are $3. Nobody buys classical music CDs. That's why they're $1. I love getting them for $1, but I don't want to spend $3 for it. That's what YouTube's for. Anyways, that's unrelated. But after I get these cheap CDs, I then listen to them and review them, and then I rank them all. So what I'm going to start doing is recording my thoughts on these albums. But I've thought of a way to do it that I think will be really interesting. Instead of just reading out my thoughts from the first time I listen to the album, what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-listen to the album and give my updated thoughts compared to the first time I listened. Because some of these albums I haven't listened to in like a year, so it's entirely possible that my thoughts have changed on them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record my thoughts after each song instead of waiting until I'm done listening to the whole album, so that way each song is fresh in my mind. So to explain a little bit before I get into this, the way that I tend to do this is I listen to the songs, and there's a few ways that I measure how much I like the song. First of all, I have a playlist that's just for all the songs from these random albums that I like. So my main way of measuring whether or not I like a song is whether or not I add it to the playlist. There's some songs that I kind of like, but not enough to add to the playlist. But generally, if it's in the playlist, it's probably a good song. And then in addition to that, I have another playlist called the Best Songs playlist. And that's all of my favorite songs. And then after I'm done listening to the album, I add it to the ranking. Because I just don't like giving number ratings to music, because I just feel like it gets too complicated. Like, if you have two completely different albums that are both like a 7 out of 10, then how do you decide which one you like more? Because it's just so different, and it's the same thing with letter grades. I don't like any of those systems, so I prefer to just rank them all from my favorite to my least favorite, which also is difficult because there's a lot of nuance there, and it can be easy to forget some of the earlier albums. So it's not perfect either, but that's how I do it. So I think what I'll do is at the end of each review, I will say what ranking I'm giving it, and I will put the overall rankings in the description of the video. So obviously for today's album, it's going to be both the highest and lowest rank because it's the only one so far, but it won't stay that way for long. Today I'm reviewing the album Have You Fed the Fish by Badly Drawn Boy, and I always like to give a little bit of information prior to the actual review, so here you go. Badly Drawn Boy is an English singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. This is his third album, and it was released in 2002. I also, in researching, found that apparently there was a competition where certain copies of the album had a golden fish hidden inside, and there was a total of 5 golden fish, and then the winners would get a songwriting session with Badly Drawn Boy, but none of the golden fish were claimed. So either they were hidden really well, or no one got them, or the people that did get them didn't like the album, which I think is the funniest way of looking at it, but who knows. The genres for this album are rock, alternative rock, and folk, and currently Badly Drawn Boy has about 269,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. When I first reviewed this album about a year ago, it was the very first album that I'd reviewed, and as a result, my music taste and reviewing abilities have grown and evolved a lot since the last time I listened to it, because as far as I can recall, I don't think I've listened to this whole album all the way through since, which makes me very curious if my opinion has changed on the album, or at least any of the songs. And the first time I listened to it, I said the album was quite enjoyable, but overall I didn't love it. I've listened to quite a few of Badly Drawn Boy's albums at this point, and I have some overall thoughts that I'll probably share by the end of this, but I think I'm going to get into some of the songs first. So we'll start with the first song, which is Coming Into Land. Which, right off the bat, I did not remember how great this song is. I typically don't add like really short songs to my playlists, but I'm going to add this one because this is actually an amazing opener for the album. It starts with a little skit that just kind of prepares you for the general quirkiness that you'll find in this album. And then the song, while very short, shows you his incredible instrumentation skills, which is what I love the most about Badly Drawn Boy. I genuinely got chills listening to this song. The syncopation in the main guitar slash synth riff in the beginning, combined with the drums, immediately gives the song a great groove. The pizzicato strings in the background are a nice ornament, and the melody is simple, but it effectively pulls the song along and kind of makes me feel like I'm actually flying. And obviously I love the addition of the bowed strings at the end, because I am a violinist and I write a lot of orchestral pieces. And I just think the drums on this song are really good. So I would definitely recommend checking out this song because it's very short and it's just a great example of Badly Drawn Boy's instrumentation. The next song is Have You Fed the Fish, which is the first real song of the album. Personally, I've never loved his singing voice, but it's definitely grown on me. While it has its flaws and can definitely be boring at times, his voice feels almost comforting at this point. Whenever a song by him comes on my playlist, I always get kind of excited just because it feels nice to hear his voice. I like the way that the previous song transitions straight into this one, and I also love the way that the song transitions from the beginning dissonant piano and synth parts into the actual start of the song. I like his singing on this song, and just like the last song, the instrumentation is great. The piano chords provide a great bass for the song, and when the electric guitar comes in during the chorus, it helps give everything a burst of energy. I like how the song goes back into the previous dissonant piano part for just a moment after the chorus before going right into the instrumental. Lyrically, there's not a whole lot to analyze. Lyrics like, you've got to give me 2 days and woman, I'll make you a girl, and sometimes you've got to rewind to go forward, there's good times around the corner, seem to me to be about how your life can be fun and easy, but you need to stop taking everything so seriously and find the childlike joy within you. But quite a few of the lyrics just seem like random non sequiturs. Like, I'm not sure what I wrestled the octopus, I came out with extra arms means. But overall, this is actually quite a nice song, and I like it a lot more than the first time I heard it. The next song is the biggest song he's ever released. It's his only top 10 charting song, and it is called Born Again. This was one of my favorite songs the first time I listened to the album, and while I still like it quite a bit, my opinion has changed somewhat. He's such a skilled instrumentalist that I find his more straightforward rock songs to be less interesting, but it's still a good song. I think his vocals sound better on this song than the previous song. I like the shift in the instrumental going into the pre-chorus. The guitar solos throughout are nice and definitely provide the song with the intended feeling, although you could make the argument that there are too many guitar solos, but I think it works fine since they aren't too over the top. The continual references to being born again, in addition to lyrics like, you gotta chill out, find a reason for your soul again, and the modern innocents have soul on their side, seem to be following the same theme of finding peace through childlike joy. Overall, while this is less of an interesting song, in my opinion, than the previous ones, I still think it is a very fun song and a great addition to the album. The next song is titled 40 Days, 40 Fights. I like how the instrumental begins with multiple instruments alternating back and forth. I think it provides a very interesting and disjointed feeling, and then when the synthesizer and drum kit parts come in, their consistency contrasts with the rest of the instrumental in a very fun way. The rhythmic changes going into the chorus are great, and overall I just really like the chorus of the song, although it is quite short. This doesn't stand out quite as much as the previous songs, but it's still a lot of fun and a very nice song. And I interpret this song as talking about an unhappy and toxic relationship. It seems like most of the song is him reflecting on that past relationship as he watches his ex-lover go out with another man. By the end of the song, he's come to realize all the possibilities there are in the world and accepts the end of the relationship. My favorite lyric is, you need eyes in the front of your head, and because to me this lyric means that she's so focused on scrutinizing everyone's behaviors and paying attention to what's going on behind her back that she's not paying attention to the important things happening right in front of her. I think I forgot to mention this so far, but every song up to this point has been good enough for me to add it to my playlist. So I've definitely been enjoying this album, and I feel like I'm appreciating it a lot more so far upon re-listen. But the next song is All Possibilities. This was my favorite song the first time I listened to this album, and I suspect it's going to stay that way. I love this song so much. It has a great bass line that moves the song along without being over the top. The brass and strings are a great combination that really help this song stand out from other rock songs. And I also love the drums on this song. Honestly, I just love any song that combines strings and drums. That's part of why I love disco music so much. His vocals are also quite fun on this song, and just overall everything about this instrumental is so great, and this song really encapsulates why I like Badly Drawn Boy. The subject of this song is following up the end of the previous song, which the previous song ends with him coming to realize all of the possibilities in the world, and this song represents that realization. It's made about as clear as it can be with the lyrics, "All possibilities are landing at my feet. There's nothing I can see but possibilities." The lyrics are very happy and uplifting and make me love this song even more. This song is good enough for the playlist, and it's also good enough to go in the best songs playlist. The next song is called I Was Wrong. This is a short interlude like the first song on the album, and just like the first song, it's like actually amazing. The drum part is really simple, but it fits the song perfectly. The repeated acoustic guitar part feels simultaneously beautiful and devastating. The lyrics are very sweet, and I assume they're dedicated to his wife. I really wish this was a full song. I typically don't add songs under 2 minutes to my playlist, but just like with the first song on this album, this is so good that I'm going to add it anyways. The next song is You Were Right. As with basically every other song so far, this song is so much better than I remember. It has a really nice instrumental with a great groove to it. I don't have a lot of specific things to say about this one, but overall it's just a really great rock instrumental. I like when the strings come in, and I think whistling doesn't always work in songs, but I like it at the end of this one. I still like All Possibilities better on this album, but this is genuinely an amazing song. It's probably my second favorite so far. A big part of the lyrical content seems to be a setup for his later song, Tickets to What You Need. This seems to be an apology to a past lover, explaining how he was in love with her but was too busy figuring out his own life. He was busy finding answers, but he's now ready to help her find the tickets to what she needs. This song is good enough for the playlist, and it's definitely good enough for the best songs playlist as well. The next song is Centerpiece. This is another short interlude. It has very nice strings. I'm really not sure if that's a guitar or what playing with the strings, but it gives the song a really unique and interesting atmosphere. I'd recommend listening to this song so you understand what I'm talking about, because I don't know what's going on with this instrumental, but the song is purely instrumental with no lyrics to analyze, and the way the strings drop out and are replaced by another weird guitar or something, I cannot identify these instruments, is quite interesting. This song is under 2 minutes, but I'm loving this album so much that I'm going to add the song to the playlist anyways. And the next song is titled How. This song calms down a bit compared to the previous song, at least at some points, which is probably what the purpose of the interlude was, and it's very nice. I like how he plays with the tempo throughout the song. There are a lot of great moments where it either speeds up or slows down. I like the way that he faintly introduces the electric guitar in the background as it speeds up, and I also appreciate the way that he uses more instruments during the fast parts than during the slow parts. It is a common trick, but I still enjoy it. The little build-up into each chorus is very nice, and obviously I love the strings. I think adding strings to rock music was possibly the greatest decision in music history. This song, again, seems to be addressed to a past lover. He's telling her that he doesn't know everything, and he can't make any guarantees, but when she comes back, he'll go out of his way to be all the things she needs. This is another song that is good enough for the playlist and good enough for the best songs playlist. The next song is called The Further I Slide. This song's pretty groovy. I like the way the instrumental develops. I think it contributes a lot to the overall groove of the song. The choices in instrumentation also make the song feel very special and interesting. This is definitely a fun song, and it's a nice addition to this album. On this song, he's starting to acknowledge the differences between him and the lover that he's been singing to and how they may not be compatible. However, he states that he doesn't want things to change. He's also repeated the line, "What if there's nothing after this?" on multiple songs. At first, I took this lyric as meaning something along the lines of, there may be no afterlife, so we should enjoy our time together while we can. But now I think it may be something more along the lines of, we might not have a future together, but I still want you. I think the way that there's a continuous story throughout this and the way it develops is really interesting, and it's definitely something that I didn't notice the first time I listened to this album. But this is a nice song, and it's definitely good enough for the regular playlist. The next song is Imaginary Lines. This song is very short and simple, but it's not bad. I'm not going to add it to the playlist, but I think the few lyrics here are quite important to the overall story. He starts by stating, "Sometimes I need your body next to mine." Similar to what he's said in the previous songs, he wants to be with this woman despite their incompatibility. He then says, "I could draw us an imaginary line." Even though they are together, there's still an emotional distance between them, which causes him to imagine a line separating the two of them. Next, he says, "Just don't breathe, I don't need your allergies," meaning that he doesn't want to acknowledge the negative aspects of the relationship. Finally, he says, "I'm falling out of bed, not out of love," to reiterate that he wants to continue being in love with her even though he knows it's a bad idea. The next song is Using Our Feet. This song has a really cool and funky instrumental. It's definitely different sonically from the rest of the album, but I really like it. This is one of those moments where I would previously have said that he's trying things vocally that he can't pull off, but now that I'm used to it, I can appreciate it more, and it makes the song feel more unique to him. This is one of those songs that honestly kind of makes me wonder what I was thinking when I first reviewed this album. Like, how did I not like this song? I'm not as confident in the meaning of these lyrics, but I'm gonna assume that the she that he's referring to is the same woman that he's been talking about this whole album. Based on that assumption, it seems like this song is implying that this woman's only really interested in Badly Drawn Boy because he has money and fame. This is adding more contributing factors to their previously stated incompatibility. It's not quite as great as the other songs that I added to the Best Songs playlist, but I still like it enough to add it. And the next song is Tickets to What You Need. This is another song where he plays with the tempo quite a bit, and I think it works really well here. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. The instrumental's very fun, and it kind of has a western feel. Overall, it's just a very fun song, and I enjoyed a lot. It has many similar lyrics to You Were Right. He tells his lover that he's ready to get her tickets to what she needs, but he also states that he's ruining people's lives by giving them tickets to what they need. He's aware that this is a bad idea, but still wants to do it, which reflects the themes throughout the previous songs. All of these songs seem to attempt to get across the idea that he has a bad sense of judgment. He says, "You're quite right to ask what's wrong with me," once again acknowledging that there's a problem, before saying, "I'm ready to tell you what's wrong with me. I'm feeling the emptiness rise, and I'd trade the whole thing quite gladly for something of similar size." He's feeling lonely and empty, so he wants to fill that emptiness with his lover, even though he knows he shouldn't. This song can definitely go in the Best Songs playlist. The next song is What Is It Now? I like the slow fake-out intro in the beginning. This song has a really nice melody and chorus. The hits during the verses are also quite nice. I like the way that the percussion builds throughout at least the beginning of the song. I like the change in melody in the bridge, and I really like how this song ends in the exact same way that the first song starts. To me, this song seems to be the conclusion to the storyline with his lover. Things have finally ended between them, which causes him to state that things will never be the same, and they've got to face the thought of loneliness again. He says he was trying to get inside his lover's brain and drag old romance from a dirty ditch, but it can't be made to feel right. He's concerned about the thought of being lonely, but in the end concludes that somehow we'll be alright. This is a very nice song and a pretty well-written and hard-hitting breakup song, and it can definitely go in the Best Songs playlist. The final song of the album is Bedside Story. There are some interesting things going on in this song, especially with the electronic aspects, but overall it's pretty much just a well-made rock instrumental with a bit of singing. It's a good song and a good closer for the album. The lyrics are pretty vague, but I have an interpretation that I like. Things have finally ended with his lover, and now he's trying to find himself. And in this song, he seems to have found his answer, which I believe is the answer to how to move on and be his true self. Based on previous songs on this album, I think that this answer is childlike joy. He talks in multiple other songs about having a childlike joy, and I believe that this is how he finds his true self and returns to being happy. Additionally, the title of the album is based on a question that he asked his daughter so many times that they started to find it quite silly. With the title in mind, I think Badly Drawn Boy got this reminder about the importance of childlike joy, this answer from seeing the joy of his daughter. When he sings "Good Night, My Answer" over and over again in the ending, I think he's singing that to his daughter. Overall, this album is so much better than I remembered it being. I genuinely love this album so much. Badly Drawn Boy is an incredibly talented instrumentalist, and this album clearly displays that. Some of the songs are more focused on things like strings and brass, while others are more typical rock instrumentals, but everything is written very well and works great. Even the interludes were both extremely well written and important lyrically. The lyrics on these songs especially are much better than I remembered, and I love his writing. Coming to realize that there's a continuous theme and storyline throughout the album has brought me a whole new appreciation for it. And if I'm correct about the last song being addressed to his daughter, it's a very sweet message. I like his vocals much more than I did previously, and they feel both unique and comforting. This album really has a contagious whimsy that I didn't come to fully appreciate until recently. I think this was a great album to start my re-reviewing, but I will say, the next album I'm going to review is very different, and it is one of the lowest ranked albums I've reviewed, but it's also one of the albums that I've talked about the most since. So, if you enjoyed this, I think you should stick around and wait to see what I have to say about that one. My favorite song on this album was All Possibilities, but there were a lot of great songs. I added a total of 14 out of 15 songs to my playlist, and there were 6 songs that were good enough for the Best Songs playlist. If you enjoyed this, then feel free to subscribe and turn on the notifications. I have no consistent schedule for this. I'm kind of just going to do this whenever I feel like it, but I'll post stuff sometimes. I love talking about music, so I'm sure it won't be too long before I do this again. And if you have any sort of feedback, then feel free to let me know in the comments or whatever. Although, I'm probably not going to change much, because I kind of just want this to be a low effort, low editing. Well, not low effort, because I am putting a lot of effort into the actual review itself. But as far as editing goes, I don't want to do that much. I kind of like just being able to sit down, talk about stuff, and then post it. And if people want to put it on in the background or whatever, listen to it as a podcast, then they can. But anyways, anyone who listened to this and made it this far, I appreciate that. Thank you for listening to me yap. And this first yap session is now complete. Goodbye.